our car has lasers on the roof.
Right.
And everyone's like, wow,
Oh,
lasers on the
lasers.
roof. 6 weeks later, everyone's got lasers on the roof.
Hello and welcome to a fairly unusual and special edition of the Fully Charged Show. Today we are discussing the incoming tidal wave of Chinese electric cars. Where did they all come from all of a sudden? Are they any good? Should you have any reservations about buying Chinese? And what does this influx of Chinese electric cars mean for Western car makers? Joining me today for this discussion is Shanghai-based motoring journalist and Fully Charged China correspondent Elliot Richards. Hello.
Hello, delighted to be here.
And I'm also joined by Fully Charged founder, godfather of EVs, and beloved TV space robot, Robert Llewellyn.
Very nice to be here too.
We know you love the Fully Charged show, so why not come along to our global tour of live shows in 2023 and 24.
Next shows are in the UK, specifically Farnborough and Harrogate.
So get your tickets today.
Robert, why are we on a stage in Australia? Just quickly, context.
Well, we're at the end of day one of a truly remarkable event, I think it's fair now to say, which is Fully Charged Live Sydney 2023, and it has been mind-boggling. This room finally has gone a bit quieter. There's still actually quite a lot of staff here, but it's emptied out. But it has been packed to the rafters. It's been an amazing day, isn't it? It's
Absolutely incredible.
for a first day.
Yeah, and this is my first time to see one of these shows, and I'm just blown away. It's just been utterly amazing.
It's a bit of an eye-opener, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
I am a little bit exhausted, a bit drained, but my heart is full, and I'm sure you feel much the same.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's have this little discussion then. We three have never actually met in person before. I've come across you a few times. But, Elliot, we've only finally met for the first time this weekend.
That's right. Yeah,
Robert.
Yeah, it's true.
And we figured it would be criminal not having a little bit of this discussion, of course, around Chinese electric cars, having you two together as two of the sort of preeminent experts on the subject, if I may. So let's just dive right into it. Elliot, I think I'll start with you. Could you just paint a picture for us of just how quickly the Chinese car industry has grown and continues to grow over the past few years?
I mean, I bought my Xpeng G3 in 2019, and I was one of the early adopters. There were a few EVs on the road, like it's just starting to get a bit more popular. Now we're about 20% penetration rate, and everywhere you go, the shopping malls are full of car shops selling electric cars. Like instead of your fancy clothes shops, they've got Polestar, they've got Hi-Fi, they've got BYD, and it's just full of cars. You go onto the streets, the only taxi you can get is electric. You get on a bus, the only bus you can get is electric. And the transformation, particularly over the last kind of 2 years, has been staggering. And there's now so many EVs coming out on the market that it's actually quite hard to know which ones to review. It's like, oh, Elliot, we've got this one. I'm like, there's too many. And, which ones are going to be successful, who knows? But it's changed so much. And it's only going to change even faster in the next few years.
This is even more remarkable considering that the Chinese car industry essentially didn't exist, 40 years ago?
No. I don't think it was there. I mean, they may have been component manufacturers there. As far as I can. And they may have made military vehicles. That's possible.
That's right. Or vehicles for the leaders, big black limousines.
Yeah.
So
certainly not on the scale it is now. And I mean, it is because I can't remember the numbers, Elliot, but just the sheer number of companies that are effectively electric vehicle manufacturers is
it's hundreds. Yeah, and it's a huge ecosystem with a charging infrastructure and government grants, and everyone's pushing for this EV revolution. It's working. Most of my friends now are buying EVs instead of, ICE cars, and it's changed a lot. It's changed dramatically.
And I take it there's a fair amount of incentives in place to encourage people to buy electric in China.
Yeah, so they were actually going to get rid of the incentives, I think it was this year, but because of COVID and everything else, they want to keep pushing it. They keep the industry going, because a lot, they're all manufactured there. They need to keep that going. BYD produce something like 100,000 cars a month.
I actually thought you were going to say a year, and I was impressed with that.
100,000 outrageous stat, 100,000 cars a month.
Sorry, they don't produce that. They sell that.
Okay.
A month.
Wow.
In China.
In China.
Wow. And the waiting lists are still about 6 months.
Wow.
So the demand is huge. It's not demand for, the super expensive, SUVs. It's demand for the small cars, the BYD Dolphin or the Wuling Mini EV, which still outsells Tesla every month.
Wow.
That cute little car.
I love that thing. So the Chinese car industry has been booming for a long time. Most people in China have been buying Chinese for a long time because import tax is horrendous and it makes sense to. Why now have these Chinese car brands turn their attention outside of China to Western markets? What do you think has changed to facilitate that?
The demand is here. The demand is in Europe. Demand, it's everywhere. And the legacy car makers can't produce enough cars that people want at a decent price.
When we say cars, do you think we're specifically talking about affordable electric cars? Is that what China is especially good at?
That is what China's doing really well. It's the affordable segment. You know, most of the cars we can get in China, they start at about £10,000 for a decent car.
Wow.
You can get a 5 or 6 seat, smallish Ford Focus kind of car for that. And then they obviously go up to ridiculous prices. But they do that. That part of the market is so hot, and so many people are jumping into that arena. There's so much choice.
Right.
And obviously there's such a need for that overseas that they're tapping into that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, it's the thing I've noticed, I want to quickly say, having spent the last few months here, is that, I'll be in traffic and there's a massive pickup truck in front of me, and I'm just going, massive pickup truck, probably Toyota, maybe Ford, Great Wall Motors. I go, oh my God. So it's not electric, but it's Chinese, and it's just blending in. It blends into the Australian scene. It's a big white pickup, like all the other big white pickups. And then, so Great Wall and MG are selling hundreds of cars here with combustion engines.
Absolutely.
And now they're introducing the electric ones. But I mean, they're already here on a pretty big way. I mean, they're not rare, those. I've seen loads of them. And now their big pickup is as big as anything made in America. It's huge.
Certainly. But it really is, certainly the electric stuff that we're interested in for obvious reasons. But that really is, that does seem to be one thing that the Chinese brands are especially good at relative to their Western counterparts. And do you feel that this influx of Chinese EVs is actually a symptom of the fact that the Western brands just haven't built the cars that we've been asking for?
It's got to be. I mean, if you can go into a showroom and go, I'd love to buy an Audi, and they tell you it's 18 months. Yeah, which is, I've heard that, anecdotally, but so many times, it's true. Oh, I'd love to buy an Audi e-tron or some really high-end car for a lot of money. Those are really expensive cars. And they go, oh yeah, well, it's an 18-month wait because of the chips. And then you go down the road and there's a BYD now, there will be in the UK, that you can buy today.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's got chips in it and they work. Yeah. And it's a really nice, really well-built car.
Yeah. I was speaking with MG the other day, which obviously beautiful British brand, but not really Chinese nowadays. And I was asking them what's the lead time on a new MG5 estate. 4 weeks.
Wow.
They'll have you in one by the end of the month, which, considering the lead times, like you say, 12, 18 months on some new EVs, that alone will inform your decision, right?
Yeah. That is extraordinary, isn't it? Well, I mean, I think that's what we're going to see. And the what's happened here, even as we sit here, I can see Polestars and Chinese vans and BYD. That's what's here. That is actually what's here. And there's probably Teslas that are made in China.
I think so, yeah.
So it's happening in Australia, I think, even more at the moment, even more than in Europe.
Absolutely. So, Robert, I'm going to put you in the shoes of a Western car brand CEO. Your brand has existed for 100 years, and you personally think that you're perfectly on track as far as converting to electric.
Yeah.
Just how troubled are you by this incoming wave of cheaper than what you're offering electric cars from China?
I mean, I can't believe they don't. But okay, I'll try and personify it. I can't believe I don't know that this is happening. But the outside impression is, I don't know this is happening. I'm making these really cool cars. We've got a lovely showroom. Everything's glittering, and it's all wonderful. But you think you go to, of course, the car shows aren't really happening anymore. So you would have gone to Geneva and someone in that position would see, oh my God, look what Geely's doing. Look what MG is doing. Oh my God, look at that. But they're not really seeing that. But they must be aware of it. They've got to be aware that these cars are coming and that people are prepared to buy them. People in Europe, people in North America are prepared to buy them.
I think part of it is that they're probably just surrounded by yes men.
Yeah.
Who are just saying,
I just became a yes man at that point. Yes. Anything you say, Elliot, yes.
They were just saying, everything's fine. We've got an electric car. Yeah. We're going to compete. Don't worry about it, guys.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, our sales are down. What's going on?
Yeah.
Oh, we've had our market share eaten away and that's it. It's too late now.
Yeah. I think what we're all undeniably agree on is that there are a handful of Western legacy car brands who are screwed. They are not going to last a decade.
I can't see how they can.
Or the next 5 years even, because they've just got it wrong and they haven't done this with sufficient conviction.
Yeah.
And frankly, if it wasn't Chinese cars that were going to come over here and sort of replace them, it would have been someone else because they just didn't get it right. Now, on that basis, is this not just natural selection? Is this survival of the fittest? Or given that the Chinese car industry has a few unfair advantages, i.e. the fact that there is a singular entity controlling the whole thing, that they have more resource than Western brands, is this something we need to intervene with? Should we be doing something to help the Western brands fight back and survive?
we maybe should. I don't know how. I can't imagine any government doing that, really. I mean, the American government had bailed out General Motors and Ford in the past, and particularly General Motors, I think, would have gone under without massive bailout. It can be done, and they can be supported, but in a way, it's pointless unless they really make the big leap. And I've got a certain amount of faith, certainly in Volkswagen as a company that is really has made really serious commitments to go full battery electric. Yep. But even then, there's been changes in management, and then you go, well, are they going to really stick to it, or can we keep the diesel plant running for another few years? I don't know what their internal decision making is, but I mean, they've certainly made, I think, really competent steps towards pure electric cars. But I mean, I think they've got a battle on their hands. But the slightly smaller, particularly the European brands, you can't help wondering. And JLR in the UK are fighting tooth and nail to stop the transition to electric only, and Toyota as well is the other glaring example. You go, why is there a problem?
It's hard to sympathise and sort of be sad about their potential demise when they are doing everything they can to make that happen themselves.
Yeah. I wonder if we're going to see Chinese EV makers buying some of those brands in the next few years.
Yes, that's possible.
So, or they might not, because who wants that legacy?
So, Robert, what do you think are some hurdles that Chinese brands face as far as achieving huge success overseas?
I mean, I think it's geopolitics, I would say, is the biggest. I don't think it's economics. I don't think it's taste. I don't think it's public perception of where the cars are made. I think a lot of people don't even know. A lot of people won't know. I spoke to a Chinese Australian today about the Polestar, and he said, this is from Sweden, isn't it? And I went, well, the design and development is Swedish, but it's made in China. And he was surprised, and he was of Chinese descent. So that was a good example of that. But I think, so a lot of people, I think, aren't that bothered. Why would, you could say to someone, where does your Toyota come from? Oh, Basildon, the dealership. Yeah, that's where it came from. I don't, where does it come from? Oh, it was actually made in Japan, or it was made in Japan. We don't even know. I don't know. Well, I've had Toyotas. I don't know where they were made. I'm assuming Japan-ish. So I don't think that's a problem, but I think geopolitics could play a part in it. If the relationship between the USA and China worsens, that could get very awkward. But it's going to be kind of macro global things rather than local changes. But I think without that, I think they're just going to sweep the place. What else is going to? They're just why would you buy that? You can buy this incredibly expensive European-built, really nice electric car, or this, this huge and heavy, or this one that is much smaller and lighter and goes further and is much, much cheaper, uses less electricity, and also has vehicle-to-grid thing and really good software that works, and an app that when you switch it on, it works. Those things are kind of important, and the Chinese got that. They've got the software down as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if I were to kind of try and neatly summarise this then, I think broadly speaking it's good news for the customer. Whatever happens, the best and cheapest stuff is going to rise to the top, and that's fantastic news for people looking to buy cheap electric cars. But for these industries, these legacy industries that have existed in parts of Europe, for example, for damn near 100 years, they should be quite afraid. They should be quite worried. If they don't really start getting serious about electric stuff quite quickly, they're going to find themselves serving as design house for a Chinese brand, right?
Yeah, completely. So watch out.
Well, chaps, on that slightly chilling note, I think we should probably head to the nearest bar and have a large iced alcoholic beverage.
Sounds good.
Thank you very much for your time. Let's see if we can do this as a trio, since we've never all been together at the same time on the same stage. So please make sure to like and subscribe.
And if you have been,
thank you for watching.
Cute. That might work.